Welcome in to XP for Heal. It's your host, SelphyClark, and we're winding down the year. We're making our way to the fireworks, the dawning of a new time, a change of pace, the promise, the challenges, the wake-up calls, the loss, the forgot, the regret. Everything summing up, things weighing out. Life evolving, and the fear and the new frontier. It's everything and nothing. It's 1 and 0. Thrilling, but it makes you hold your breath still. And we're counting down the time. We're jotting down new thoughts. And I've just finished up my first semester of grad school. Going to set aside some time next week and finish up the finals and see how my grades turn out and whether or not I'm getting to apply to new scholarships and future endeavors. A lot at once, but it presents an opportunity, a chance to overcome and a chance to outshine fear, anxiety, hope, and wonder. So, we'll go into the experience of grad school, how I've done, how I felt, what to expect more, how I've anticipated it, just everything about having the change of heart and idea of going to grad school when 2 years before it was not in my heart to believe I was going. So, The Adventures of Grad School Part 1. Because it would be nice to revisit this as a memory lane once I get to my last semester of grad school. A good way to time and capsule my memories, my thoughts, and relive the experience once more. Like when you hear your favorite song after so many years and can feel the emotions then and what they've transformed into. Meeting an old friend, being inspired, and simply living in a moment that is long since past. Here we are. I am finally at the the true end of first semester of grad school, because the reality is until my grades come in for all my projects and essays and exams, this year hadn't truly ended quite yet, since technically without my grades posted or my teachers' comments or their evaluations up publicly known on my, not my work page, my school page, and even as well I had to re-register for a course since the one I had initially planned on taking wasn't actually going to happen, and even my teacher reached out and said, hey, do something else, in so many words. Yeah, that's definitely another part we have to talk about with grad school, how the scheduling it goes, because that gave me like an hour's grievance solving that problem. So, how about we go in order? The first day. Not the first day. We need to back up even further because grad school's a big undertaking. I mean, beyond what we did, the interview, we talked about that, the stress of beginning it, questioning myself, re-questioning myself. But I mean, once I went through the interview process of grad school, confident that I said my piece, and getting that email congratulating me, inviting me, and giving me a sense of an accomplishment to the undertaking I was about to begin. And everyone had different feelings about it. I mean, for one, people around me had already expected I already took this undertaking or assumed I could perform my work without going to grad school, but it's kind of like the world of you no longer can just have a bachelor's or a technical degree in order to do some of the applications, the works, the training, experiments without further teaching and further education in order to better prepare yourself and give yourself time to really understand what you're going into as well. Plus, even to give schools more of a chance to try and recruit you or headhunt you as well. Because, that's another point I have to realize. St. Edward's didn't actually reach out to me about grad school. Even in my undergrad, that wasn't really a thought of going back to the school. The only reason I thought about it is when I looked at their grad program, because I was starting to look around like, okay, where's a good place I could do a master's in person? Because sure, I could find some stuff online, but for how I know I learn best and even to give myself the opportunity to network and meet with teachers and different experiences would be better if I face to face with it. Plus, it would get me out of the house. Honestly, for how introverted I am, I do need to coax myself, pep myself up to leave. But there's so many video games here, so it's kind of hard to find the incentive outside of exercise to adventure elsewhere consistently rather than just for a random holiday or something. But yeah, picking out school that I knew I would enjoy, find interest in the subject and the teachers handling the subjects, how it's being approached, how the school is as a whole, my previous experience there, if I felt comfortable on campus, if I felt I would enjoy activities, class settings, the whole experience of it all, which I felt like I would still gain something from the school as well as not hurt myself too much on the bank side. Because the reality of how much it would cost to do online or how much it would cost to go in person, if I could get any kind of discounts, if I could do any kind of scholarships or grants and other work studies and whatnot, which has been still a bit of a struggle to find that without having to spend hours sleuthing through offers, which is kind of frustrating. But again, depending on your situation, it could be the motherlode of scholarships and grants that can be provided, but quite a few of those don't work for me, or I can't apply, or I don't feel I would be a good candidate for some of the work that they require. Just the whole thing of, I'm still trying to go to school at the same time. Yes, it'd be great to explore and research and do this, but it's like, I know how I am with time management. As much as it could be great to have this on the side, it means taking on essentially a second job beyond just already having a job and having a job at school too. But again, there's people who have been able to make it work and excel so successfully. Of course, that is not me. I know I went through my undergrad with a lot of juggling, which shouldn't have happened in the first place, but great, I was able to show in a very toxic, dangerous setting that I could thrive. But the whole fact of the matter, then, life has changed over and over since then, and even how education and how health and how life in general has turned into something else entirely, like a whole alien being. And I'd rather give myself some kind of reprieve. Yes, I would like more help with school. It would be great if I wasn't having to count pennies. I really would like to get to that point where I'm not worrying about every single expense in that regard. To be able to go beyond that and just simply know I'm covered. To even have the experience of feeling I'm covered for this year. That would be a tremendous accomplishment, to get to that point in my finances that I know confidently that I'm rock solid, that I can go to school and I can enjoy myself and not have to worry about every time if I'm getting my hours in, if I'm getting the right amount in my income. But I mean, it's a possibility in the future being a year from now, because I have been getting help. I have been choosing wiser decisions financially and how I can help future me, help present me. Of course, it does mean a few times that I have to spend several days scrounging around, doing the work, the tough challenge of asking and searching and writing to see if people would like to benefit from assisting me to go through school, and have to understand the whole thing of, yes, there's the imposter syndrome and thinking, oh, but I don't need it. Like, if I don't take it now, for how much more work I have to put in on top of what I'm already doing just to continue the whole thing of putting the coal in the train. Why am I putting extra coal in right now when I could just simply get better quality coal to go in and it'll last a little bit longer, so I'm not having to shovel as much as quickly. It's an analogy that makes sense in my brain. If it goes over your head, so sorry, I decided to go on train rant. But I mean, that's with just school in general, inflation. Just, it really has made me dance around the idea of other types of work that are at home or digital that could sponsor me, potentially, but again, they come with their own risk factors in them, especially with my job being something I'm in service to others, so I was like, I'll still play with that idea potentially in the future, but at this moment I know it can become a slippery slope if I join in. But even the fact of then I have to do extra work to excel at it. And just for those to read in between the line, I'm talking about sex work, OnlyFans, the things that you should give a bit more skin, give a bit of risque. I don't know. In the past, it seemed something I could pursue to even pay the bills and have a little on the side. But then it just seemed like a lot of networking you gotta do, and even with how sites have been very crackdown mode on any kind of service at all, you're like, okay, I will just try to do the good, square, honest work, and you gotta still put in so many freaking hours, and on top of that, doing your homework as well, and all the research school wants you to do, and I'm turning in papers at 5 minutes to the deadline still. I'm so professional. But I mean, that's really the first uphill. Well, maybe the second uphill, because I mean, first deciding where to apply to, and then interviewing into the process, actually putting your money into a deposit, setting up a parking permit, and going to the school and entering the building. You're at that third hill of, now I need to make the grades. retain the knowledge that I'm learning in these classes and see how this first semester goes, because lo and behold, you get into these classes and they talk about how much people will drop out, how much people will probably not succeed, maybe have to take a semester over, that you won't make A's, you won't get perfect grades all the time. You have to be imperfect and okay with having a C- on an assignment or something. And again, it's perfection. Of course, you have to work through that because you want to be in grad school, you're striving to do better for yourself, perfect yourself, workshop on yourself. And you have to deal with criticism, but productive criticism as well, effective criticism. And the whole fact of then people are realizing that grad students, even undergrad students, are burning out. But of course, that's even tied into a lot of society, culture, how it's so damn hard to leave your parents' house because of the cost. And even because you keep ending back up there too, so it's like you don't have your own personal space as well. Because that's why I have to make a lot of my videos and games way late at night, so I have some form of quiet and privacy so I can do this. Hey, a little bit of stresses, but yeah, going from that third hill, entering into the classes, realizing making work-life balance, understanding if things have to be pushed to the side because you want to gain a professional degree and you can't just hang out and do whatever. Of course, some people retain this knowledge very quickly, some don't, and everyone has a different pace of where they thrive and succeed. And even the system of education where how you're rated is based upon certain aspects that you may not do in real life. How much am I going to really heavily research peer-reviewed articles in order to dump it into a whole essay about, oh, I think this, and that, blah, 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 and make sure you have all the latest citations, which is a tedious, eye-burning sensation when you're staring at a computer for more than 2 hours at a time. It gets old very quickly. But of course, this is the part where you rant, because when you get to the third hill of entering into grad school, of starting the course, hearing about most of the time people are going to fail or drop out or realize they don't want to do this, it messes with you a little, and even puts you in times where you actually doubt why you even began this journey. But for anyone who's gone through medical school, for how long you're in that process, of course you're going to have doubts of, why am I doing this to myself? And even having to look at the long-term reason, the goal, the success, the journey, or even the ambition that drove you here. Of course, kind of hard to see when you're having to spend years kind of not really living gloriously, just to put it. I mean, that you're having to, as in my case, pinch pennies about whether you go spend 2 hours playing a game just to chill out, or if you spend it researching a paper because you have so much of your hours taken up by work, or having to recover from work, or just not having to drive into town where it's so dangerous. See, the third hill is just the fiery pit of hell. Because once you get past the third hill of entering into grad school, of getting through the interview, of starting the classes, and now you're knee deep into the knowledge, learning, finding an interest, hearing your teachers talk about their own experiences, the world around them, how it's changed over the years, and the fourth hill you come to is not so much a plateau, but like almost like an open field you've fallen into, and you're just enamored walking around and soaking it all in. It is a long walk, though, and you can get lost very easily in it if you're not keeping your eye on that next hill, the 5th hill. Because this 4th secret hill, maybe call it an iceberg hill, rather than being above. Maybe even a hole. You know what, maybe a sinkhole. Because after that 3rd hill, and you come here, and you're Alice, you're going down. Oh, I see where I'm going with this, my brain. Rather than a plateau, rather than an open landscape, you're effortlessly falling into this rabbit hole of what drives you, what interests you, what you can learn from this. And along the way in this hole, this forever falling pit, you can get yourself lost in a new exploration, which could lead to you dropping out the program and finding out another passion in this. Maybe you stick with it because you've already put yourself through this much of the journey, might as well go further. You might disappear and burn out. You may go out of the other side of this falling pit and find yourself at the 5th hill. Now, better prepare to face the uphill challenge, maybe gained a little confidence or even humbled yourself and realized you don't know much. For what you thought when you came into this journey, you've now awoken to the reality even. Yeah, I guess this is where I'm going. These little ebbs and flows. And now at the 5th hill, when you've gone through that journey, the humbling, the knowledge, the wondering, the hopeless, the imposter, and simply reconnecting with why you even started this. Why even journey forth and explore this and put your time and effort into it when there's a need for it. There's a skill set and a hope and want to excel in something that you know can do better for the earth, better for even one person that may go on to do more, being part of the stepping stones, the growth, and being part of a change that accomplishes something deeply rooted and very human. I mean, of course, for a long time I was interested to look at medical work, but medical work on someone who needs an autopsy. I wanted to investigate why someone died, what happened, the story that they've left behind. And somewhere in that passion and fixation on the human body, I got to the mind. But I wanted to understand what's happening in there, how someone expressed themselves, where they come up with these irrational thoughts, or how they can guide themselves to a better outcome, a solution, or even just what they're going to do the next day, and what leaves them feeling lighter in themselves, what gives them hope, what they even are as a person. Somewhere, I just know one time when we were at a lake, that idea from figuring out from death to figuring out in life, that's the path I wanted to take, rather. And clearly at that time I didn't understand the cost, the hours you need to put in, but even either journey would take me years and years to figure out what path I wanted to work up to. And I do have a clear sight of where I want to end in. Now it's just a matter of finding those steps that lead me there. Both taking the risk, asking the questions, and searching, seeking in multiple different avenues how I want to express that want and growth for the human mind. So here we are. You go through that 5th hill, and 6 is really where you breathe again. You recollect, you regret, you embarrass yourself, and you look back on what choices you made, what actions caused more pain and grief, how you can do better for the next semester, what you could catch up on now, what you need to strengthen on, and what you should take more note of for the future. And 6 is a strange place because it's not that long you get to be in it. But it's enough time for you to ponder yet again from Hill 1 to now Hill 6 that rises up to Hill 7. It may be a lucky number for some. It may be a bit tricky to work through. You're entering back into a scene that you've only just finished, and now you're going back for a second round. And even, of course, if you're introverted, you're extroverted, and ambidextrous, whichever the middle ground is. I've never learned to say the word right. And I mean, if honest, I don't think I'm gonna see the people I had in my class in these next set of courses. If I do, great, but I really know I didn't leave a good or well impression on anyone. I came into it with plans of being talkative and plans of interacting, and yet that didn't happen. I struggled as usual to bond or break out of my quiet nature, and rather than speak, I'd rather have listened around what was going on, because I fear every time I talk, I get distracted and I lose sight of the education I need to retain and get close to people. It throws me off of the path I want to take for learning the skills I need. But then you need to bond in some way with people. I know I have the ability to, but I guess it fades and flickers for me. In class settings, it's hard to reconcile the quiet, good kid who listens to the one who simply cracks a joke and maybe asks someone about their day. Again, it's my own problem in that factor, so if I can try and do it 5% less for the next semester, maybe I can improve my chances of forming a better networking system than I did last year. Sure, I have a lot of people's numbers, but that's only because other people took the time and effort to make group chats, reach out to people and talk. I didn't. And I'm sure that's going to come and bite me at some point. So I need to either suck it up and simply be uncomfortably friendly at times in order to put myself out there, or maybe I simply need to get a wing person to introduce me to people. Being an adult and not really understanding how to bond slowly with people. This is why it was great when I had D&D. I was able to be in a sitting area with people in chat, and not have to worry about education. I was just having to worry about numbers, which still, I kept getting myself distracted and not rolling the dice correctly. But hey, trial and error. I have to remember that. I mean, I guess that's maybe my 7th hill. Rather than coming back to class, 7th hill is me saying, "Hi, yeah, you may have remembered me from last year, but I don't talk to people." What would be, well, yeah, I guess we'd be at, the furthest we can talk to is 7th hill. Because other than that is to review back from all the hills. I mean, in-depthly. Classes are set. You get your schedule. They pretty much make it where it's like, you only are meeting so many times. So show up or fail the class. Because if you keep skipping out classes, even with the material online, you're going to miss information that needs to be pointed out. It's not the teacher's job to hold your hand when this is grad school. You're literally trying to make a career out of this field. So you need to be able to problem solve and think on your own, because you're going to be in session with someone who may throw something big at you, and you need to decompartmentalize, listen, be compassionate, feel, and simply give a space that's warm to them. And I know how to do those things, but then going about the nature of, this is a business as well, but it's a business of health and growth and healing too. The challenges of my life, because right now it's about the grades. Because let's be real, as much as they're like, oh, you couldn't get a C on a course or two, but it's like, in the overall things, because what if in my journey of school do I decide I want to do a PhD? If I get C's on my grades, that's going to affect my chance of getting a PhD. Because, I mean, as much as that idea is really at the back of my mind, it's still a really wonderful idea I want to give hope to still. Because I know where that can lead me, living situation-wise, where I could go for that. Yes, educationally it is a lot more work and time, but it would mean I wouldn't have to pay off my student loans yet. I mean, let's face it, the longer you're in school, the longer they can't ask you for all the money back. But of course, depending on interest and blah blah, but it's like, I would like to dream. But of course, having a professional career option rather than a job, going beyond the thing that's paying the bills to the thing that's giving me another purpose rather than the hobbies and activities I have. Because my hobbies and activities aren't paying the bills. They are there to make me happy, but they're not fueling the fire in the fireplace. And there you have it. Kind of my feelings behind first semester, jumping into grad school, finding out what it takes to educate myself, and even beyond getting the class material down, understanding what I'm taking for it, what I'm spinning my own style onto it, or molding it into how I want to be as a counselor, how I want to provide mental health services, how I understand both in myself and what I want to open up to of learning. Because beyond the ideas of gaming therapy, D&D therapy, roleplay, play therapy, body work, somatic, open, safe spaces of unconditional regard, bringing anime and games into the mix, having a conversation outside, doing projects, building stuff up to break it down. I mean, I have to realize some of these things sound grand and large because in reality, unless I have either a practice or a supervisor or a setting that allows me this flexibility and clientele that want to come in for this, it's going to be hard to put that at the forefront, and that has to be more of the niche things that I add to the side if someone would like to explore into that. Of course, it's not always going to work out in that favor, and really talk therapy, the traditional setting, does work. Yes, it's not the entire setting I want to explore and have my career develop into. It is a good place to start and work on the basics and even where my strengths are, because the reality of me talking up a storm of, oh, I'm going to do this and that, but in actuality of when I get into the place and I talk and I speak and I listen, I could have an entirely different skill set that grows with better strength compared to these niche hobby things I want to grow. And those still can be at the forefront of my training, my practice, but they may need more skills, more mentors to back me up and work on my own signature style. And I still have to balance what I want to do now and what I can do in 10 years. Because the reality of this career option I'm choosing is something I want to be in 30 plus years. Maybe not in the same format in a few. Maybe I change it. Maybe I jump to a different kind of job or go to teaching or school setting. It just depends on what's happening, because again, in the world around us, a huge amount of this needs to be environmental, cultural, social, political conversations, and I need to understand how to ethically bracket, compartmentalize, and even be curious of other perspectives. And I hope I excel at that at the very least. If I can't do certain trainings right off the bat, but if I can be happy, responsive, actively listening, and letting someone explore themselves in their mental wording, and even if they leave or come back, or at least they feel like they've gained tools from whatever we've done in session, then great. But now I'm kind of just at the point of looking around, picking and choosing, and trying to mentally envision this. So in a little while longer, I'll be able to put all this imagination into play. And hopefully I'm able to at least feel good about it. Maybe not excel at it, but at least feel like I've given my all and tried. And I have to be honest, I joined into grad school thinking I was going to be on campus doing other activities, moving around a lot, but given my living situation got more complicated compared to what my anticipated time schedule was, it really changed up what I did for my days. Of course, in actuality, if I just shaved off a little bit more time of just diddle-daddling about and decompressing, I could have done a lot of other things, but I could have even burned out even more. I could have spiraled. I could have done a lot of things that could have ended up more unproductive than how it went. Because the reality is, I still try to put in the effort of my classes, my work, my research, and what I wanted to keep tabs on for the future. Sure, I didn't interact and network as heavily as I could have, but I now know of where to find people. My teachers gave us a lot of resources. A lot of people in our classes seem really open and friendly to talk to. It's just a matter of getting out of my head and just simply go, hey, we can talk. Very simple. The worst that can actually happen is a simple rejection. Okay? I gotta get over that. From there, thankfully, as much as my workout, sports, gymming stuff didn't pan out successfully as I anticipated, I have found many at-home workouts that I could do that I'm feeling getting stronger, getting more strength in repetition, consistency in it, and even the whole basis of having a good meal prep service. Essentially, what I'm consuming is going to directly affect the work that I'm putting in to strengthen myself, because I would like to have a strong core. I would like to fit into some clothes a bit more flattering, and I'd like to give myself the confidence to do pull-ups and crunches and push-ups and all that with a good high number of consistent movement and not struggle as much. From there, if I get the nice other perks of what happens when you lift and train, great. If not, then I need to adjust what I'm doing and maybe even get out of my head and go into the building of the gym, whether it's on campus or in the public. As much as social anxiety says otherwise, because they've got nice equipment, it would really help me. And the whole thing of if I can set aside the time, early or late for it, why not? If it's something I'm wanting to commit more to as a quote-unquote full-time hobby, it might as well do that and just find somewhere that feels comfortable and I know I can access the equipment without dealing with the public. I'm sorry, I've read so many people's uncomfortable stories of interaction at the gym, and I just don't want to have that. I don't. Obviously you're gonna have someone be like, hey, are you done with this equipment? Great. Normal interaction. Anything beyond that, wanting to talk to me, want to hang out with me, want to do workouts with me? No. I want to be the gremlin in the corner trying to learn how to use this stuff by myself. Okay? Oh, the problems with wanting to be around people, but not wanting to be around people. Wanting the vibes, the sensation around a crowd, but not to go inside the crowd. Not so much as like a people watching, but getting the good energy, the vibe essentially, and then just leaving, being done. But again, things I have to realize. If I want to commit to these things and find the balance that works, I've got to plan it, time management, buckle up, or figure out what works for me. But if I keep being flip-flop on it, it's never going to truly stick, and it's going to keep yo-yoing. I mean, the fact of me wanting to do videos, me wanting to do Twitch, streaming, content, here and there, playing games and seeing other people's works of arts and creations come to life, still experimenting with the possibility of voicing things, but that does require more effort on my part to pursue that endeavor, and even continuing this podcast beyond it being for XP. I mean, the reality of what I'm seeking out of this now, in a place where I really did believe I had left my own demon battling final fight. But even as I've talked about before, that was merely the darkness that was in front of me that pervaded and could be seen from all sides. And now, I mean, it's like the multiverse. Suddenly, from every other place that could be possibly imagined, these other horrors, these other challenges have emerged, and with this newfound realization I can overcome it, and that I have tools to rise above, it is simply the next battle with a new difficulty setting. And this podcast may or will evolve from being something that I can rant at and throw ideas at the wall and see what sticks. Because in the grand scheme of it, unless I envelop myself in some kind of a research project, my schooling is going to be very narrow beyond the subjects I learn, but my experience in it will be simply the day-to-day habits, the things I try here and there, the challenges of producing good grades and learning something from the material, and everything in between that I want to enjoy beyond what I'm doing to better the lives around me. For as much as it's a lot of task on hand, I have to realize if it makes a difference or if it's simply the repetition of what's going to happen, where I strive to stand out and where I become complacent in the habits I want to have. Do I experience more challenges in strength training to make that more of a priority in my life? Do I delve into the creation works and creativity? Do I just simply hang back and do my work and pay my bills? I have options on this route at every point, but it's a matter of what I'm actually going to put the true effort in and what is simply there to pass the time. And I see lots of things that I have stacked up for myself that are slowly coming back into the picture, but simply because the convenience of time rather than the passion behind it. And of course, a part of it could simply be A, burnout, B, lifestyle change, C, realizations, and sitting back a moment and realizing what I actually enjoy doing and what is just there to cover up the holes that are aching still or have formed in other ways. There's confusion at the point of trying and the hope that I keep reigniting. It's weird at times, the things I'm very boastful and prideful of that don't seem to have recognition outside of my own head, but other things that I don't find any meaning to have a great deal of respect from others. But again, I have to realize that I only see what I see, and everyone else sees what is behind me, what is in front of me, the other self that I want to ignore that is me, but is what I present to others because I don't want some parts of me exposed. And that statement, I'm realizing some miserable thoughts I've put into me and even some chances I've put aside. But even with that, there's still the growing urge to keep at it, stubbornly maybe, or even hopeful. And even a sense of being curious of what if. Because not everything is planted and grown in a second. Some things do take years of effort. Whether it's a little bit or a lot, it can compile itself over time. But a matter of if I want to continue down that road or come back to it. Something to wonder on, but it comes up with my own little anxieties that come up with the next semester because it's a new semester, and since I really, as I said, put myself out there, it's still going to be quiet with me relatively running out the door once class is done and not hanging out. Though my schedule did get really wonky compared to what I originally wanted. So it does mean most of my days I'm still working, but I do actually have a lot of time to simply discover my own research and what I want to enjoy in life. And of course, what I want to improve in myself. Because I don't want to look back in 20 years and realize the underappreciation of the body I've created and what I could damage if I don't take care of it. The challenges of being anxious about going to the gym, the anxiousness of starting school later, the anxiousness of how I manage my money, and whether I'm really looking for more connection or not, or simply wanting to hear an echo back. I don't know if I want to hear the other side respond, or if I'm looking for acknowledgement. And of course, this all goes back into, this is why I go to therapy, so I talk about these things with someone who will not echo back and actually give me some bitter, harsh, and other perspectives, which love to make me feel challenged, but more so irked that I need to stop and pause and really wonder why I'm speaking in the way I'm speaking. And of course, it could be simply, as I said, ignoring the holes. And of course, it could just be me diving too deeply into too many subjects at once and expecting everything to stick. And it could be myself feeling guilty in ways. It could be defense. It could be overwhelmed, underwhelmed, and lost in the sea of choices. But I do know I'm in school because I want to be, that I took the time to really think about it, and I've taken all these other tasks because I don't want a narrow life. I want something that reaches out with some kind of color to it that when I look back, I see vibrance and interest. Maybe that's what it is, just simply wanting to know. I experimented and tried, at the very least, to branch out and understood that I have more than one interest in this world. Yeah, because at times I do feel like I've pushed ideas thinking that they were the pinnacle of life, but they're fun and shiny and great things to entertain, but they don't have to be the center of my universe. They don't have to be the be-all conversation pieces. Of course, it could be they are the comfortable scripts that I want to talk about, that I know I myself will enjoy hearing. Maybe not to everyone else's ears, but to my ears alone. The fond memories they bring up, or what I can rethink about over and over. Yeah, that is another thing I'm gonna have to bring up. And really, there isn't anything else to talk about for this. This, I thought, would be more extensive to elaborate, but for the things I've talked about, they've been said. I don't want to dissect it further. Maybe if I wanted to talk about the difference of how my undergrad to my grad experience is, the cost, the time, the research, but they are such different experiences and different lives and different time frames that they can't really be compared and contrast without being at the same part of my life, but they've been at two very different times of my life. The next biggest thing to do is deal with legal documents, but that's really outside of school, besides making sure I still get my finances done. But yeah, that's really everything to go over for this time, as much as this took a long time to put together and finally piece out. I think the only other thing I can say is for the next XP for Heal, I need to branch out to something more that I want to discuss. Maybe even set it up as a two-person conversation. One that I have live where I'm unedited. Of course, I would clean up the voice and make it clearer and put music behind it, but other than that, get out of the setting I've placed myself into and to something else. Oh, that's the one I wanted. I think for next time, that would be a great and exciting challenge, where I brainstorm and fully create my one-shot idea for Valentine's in the setting of Ryutama. That would give me ample information, a very fun creative project, and something I can work on in a story setting that either is just simply for entertainment, for voicing, or even just a longer story plot where we break down why we're doing this, how we're setting it up, the different characters, the different generators, and beginning to fill out the plot. And from there, taking the one-shot, one-person story and seeing where it leads us to. A lot of improv, a lot of twists and turns, and it would be a lot of pauses too, so we could cut those just for the sake of not having a lot of dead air. Yeah, I like that. I guess the only thing to say is tune in for next time for XP for Heal, the one-shot Valentine's edition where we completely do the story. and see if the plot actually works out or if we end up getting killed. So, have a good day. Bye-bye.